We're talking this afternoon about the new exciting, we'll use exciting in air quotes, a little bit confusing, very different process from the old site, Federal Business Opportunities, or FedBizOpps, or FBO. And we want to find out how can we gain those old features and functions that we used to use under the site. So just a moment, we'll have our 3 seconds of silence to miss the federal website, FedBizOpps. We knew you well. You had your problems, but we all figured out how to use you. And then we welcome kind of the start of a new internet year, new website year. Okay, I'll quit with the humor, or attempts of humor. And we welcome the contracts opportunity. So during the webinar today, these are the things that I'm going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to create a login. I'm going to talk about the admin functions, and then we're going to talk about how to find opportunities, developing the search process, how to add to the interested vendors list, IVL, new acronym, and you're going to see almost all of the GSA FAQs, all of the terminology. They are not spelling things out. They're just completely going to the acronyms. And then we're going to talk about creating, saving, and downloading searches. So we'll go ahead and move forward. So logging in, if you are new to the Beta SAM site and are not necessarily a system administrator, an entity administrator for your SAM registration, you might not have dealt with the new login process. So this has been in place for the SAM website, the login.gov, for about 1.5 years now. And it is simply a website of itself that is the new security gate process to access SAM, and of course now the Beta SAM site. And you can create your login one of 2 different ways. You can hit the login button and follow the process for the SAM step, or we can hit the sign in from the Beta SAM site, and I'll show you those 2 as well. If you've already created your login for the original SAM site, that same username and password does work for your Beta SAM site. So if you already have a working username password set up for the SAM site, you do not have to worry about creating any new account or sign in for the Beta SAM site. So the login tips, your username, password for SAM now works. A new account can be created from either. And just for your information, if you need to change or update your email or password, say you've changed from info@ to mark@ in the company, or change that process, you can actually go to the login.gov site. I have got a little screenshot here. If you click on Manage Account, if you actually need to get rid of an old email, you're no longer using that, or you've had to switch from Gmail to Hotmail to a company specific, you can actually deactivate, delete your login.gov account and create a new one. If you delete it from login.gov and you are going to create a new username using a new password, then I recommend going back to the SAM or the Beta SAM site to create that, so that those sites are already tied in for access for the login.gov. If you go to login.gov, you click on the Manage Account, it does show you which government sites you are already associated for that login process. So if you do, for any reason, have to change that information, you do need to go to login.gov to update that, and then that will automatically fix that connection for both your SAM and the Beta SAM account. Whoop. All right, so betasam.gov. The Beta SAM's been around years, but it's really only been this past year, calendar year, well, we've been really forced to start paying attention to the Beta SAM site. This is just the home page, right, going to the beta.sam.gov site, and we can see that they've already moved the wage determinations. That was back October or so. They've now moved the federal contract opportunities. There is more information on the end goal of Beta.SAM, where they want to move several other federal sites into one website so that you, as the end user, will only have one username and password than to access several sites. But since that's not our focus, I really don't want to go into it, other than I want to bring that up because that concept of they're creating an overarching web structure where they can plug multiple different databases and multiple different software programs, old legacy systems, into the new system kind of helps explain why the terminology, the look and the feel, and why it has changed so much for those of us looking at these contract opportunities from FedBizOps to contract opportunities. So keep that in mind. They are building a big structure. As of today, they are still constantly updating and adding features and modifying features for the various things already here. So there are expectations of abilities that we had in FedBizOps that have not necessarily been activated in contract opportunities yet. And I'll kind of talk about some of those as we go. But again, I just wanted to point out there is a logical reason why we have such a drastic change. And again, they're building a structure to import future databases that have yet to be moved over here. So on the search tip that I have off to the left, you can actually search right here from the home page without logging in. So at any point, and we'll kind of go over the little features and explain what is what. But I just wanted to let you know, if you do a search and suddenly like, oh, I should have logged in, I need to save that, you can sign in and it'll automatically move the data that you have searched, your search results, whatever you were looking at, and moved it into that signed in where then you can save it. So that is a nice feature where you don't necessarily have to sign in every time. Also, you can search for the information without ever having to create a BetaSAM.account. So you can, like FedBizOps, search from the website's landing page without necessarily signing in. But keep in mind, if you want to save that search, follow the opportunity, what used to be watch the opportunity in FedBizOps, or add yourself to the interested vendors list, you will need to be signed in. Okay, so the sign-in process is real simple. I just wanted a few screenshots just for those of you that might not have seen this before. BetaSAM, the only difference is the logo at the top says SAM versus BetaSAM. Email address, if you've not had an account, create an account. If you've not created an account and you're in the SAM.gov website and you clicked on login, this is what you're going to see. If you're in the BetaSAM and you click sign in but don't have an account, again, you're going to get this login .gov website as that security access. A quick handy tip, when you are entering and you set up the security codes, because this is always going to be that two-part authentication, we're not going to say that word again, that you sign in with your username, password, and then of course you have that security code to ensure that this is you and not someone else trying to fraudulently get into your account. You can click this handy little remember this browser, and this is good for, it can go up to a week unless you log in under a different IP address, using different internet, or log somebody else's account into yours and then it breaks that. But it's really handy if you're going to be in and out several times today. Log in, check this little remember browser, and it'll save you from having to pull your phone or wait for that phone call to be able to get that security code. So once you do sign in, this is where you land. It says workspace, and you can see here this is for my account that I have set up, PTAC contact information, and it opens up with the user directory, who you're looking for. So these are individuals, not entities. So prior to this date, I've had a lot of questions on how do we migrate roles from that SAM function and from FedBizOps in assigning roles. Currently, as of today, from the non-government side, assigning roles really isn't a feature available to businesses. Currently, everything that you're going to read, all of the FAQs, all of the documents about assigning roles and hierarchies is purely for those federal accounts. So it's kind of interesting. You can link several people, invite several people, add them. We can put as many people associated to our profile as we want, but at this point in time, there really is no role management feature in contract opportunities or in BetaSAM specifically related to contract opportunities. So when you first log in, we need to update some information. There's two different ways you can do that. You can either click on your profile, the word profile, which is a link, or if you can click on the little icon here, and then it pops up with a word that says profile, and you click on that, and that will then allow you this next screen here. Now we're actually in the profile, where we can click edit to change any of our contact information that we've created, or there's a second edit we can click, and that's going to allow us to add our entity. Keep in mind that by December 2020, it is GSA's goal to move away from DUNS numbers to our unique entity identifier. This will be a 12-digit code. It will be automatically assigned by GSA. Again, there'll probably be a whole workshop on just that or information from the PTAC office. I don't want to focus on it now. The reason I'm bringing it up is that all of the language is going to refer to your entity identifier number or unique entity identifier. Some places I'll add DUNS in parentheses, such as I've had here, to let you know what they're talking about. When GSA does go to their new unique identifier number, we'll wind up having three with cage code numbers to identify your corporate. So you will have the DUNS number, and that will stay in place until they figure that it's covered, and then eventually that will go away. Since it's proprietary for Dun & Bradstreet, they do have a limited time where they get to use that information. Then we will have that unique entity identifier. Sometimes you'll see that the acronym is that UEI, which will be the new 12-digit assigned by GSA, and of course the cage code, since that is monitored by Defense Logistic Agency, that will be there indefinitely. So just heads up for the future. But for right now, we're going to click on edit, and we're going to add our entity number. And the reason that you want to do this from the beginning is so that when you add yourself to interested vendors list, that information from your SAM data is pulled over and tied to that particular opportunity. Okay, so this is the next tab. So you can see from the landing screen, account details, and I would just come over here and click where it says My Roles. I hopped on you guys. So account detail, click on My Roles. Again, I just wanted to show you what it looks like after the fact, after I've entered my identity number. So we have it here. I have played with this multiple times, and to the best of my understanding, you are not able to enter more than one entities at this time. I don't know if this is a feature that is going to change down the road. I don't know if in FedBizOps, to be honest, I don't remember if you could have multiple entities or if you simply needed to have a username and password for the various entities merely for the purpose of adding to the interested vendors list. So something to think about, something to keep an eye on. But currently, right now, you can only add one entity. I also have not found a way to delete said entity once I've entered it. So I don't know if, again, that's something where I can actually, you can see the edit key goes away, and I'm not able to go back in and change that. And the funny thing is, when I entered the DUNS number on that entity, there is no verification. It just popped up with my information, and I'm like, clicked on it from the list, and I'm, yep, that's me, and here it is. So I have played and tried to enter other companies' entities' DUNS number, and once you have one listed with your account profile, it seems to be pretty much set with stone. And if any of you are curious, I do have my own DUNS number cage code associated with my name as a sole proprietor. It is used simply for the purpose of PTAC training, and I do have it blocked from public search, so if anybody tries to go looking for it, just in case you're curious. So I did set that up purely so I could do training. So one other thing from this screen I want to talk about, this API key. And I have about 30 seconds of information of that. And all I know is that it is used for requesting data, and they say non-government. This is I pulled actually from the GSA FAQ site for Beta SAM regarding API, because I was trying to figure out, is this government only or non-government? And it does have a limit, but I haven't played with it. Here's the website. If you guys do a lot of report pulling, might want to use this feature. You can click on this link to read about it and find more getting it started. It's about a 6-page document. It had a lot of information. But as far as the extent of my knowledge, I know it's there, and I know how to show you guys where to find out more about that. And then the last thing, again, from your account details, is this is where you can then deactivate an account. And that should be in Beta SAM. All right, next screen. So now if we come over here and click on My Roles, I've already entered everything. This is what we see. You can see the roles feature, and right now it's just for data entry, and domains are associated with it. I clicked on it when I was setting up mine. So you can see here with my entity, for my account, for my login, I have the role of data entry for contract opportunities, and not necessarily any permissions. My understanding that really this feature is geared for the government users, specifically the contracting officers, contract specialists that will be entering the solicitation sources, the various articles, whatever public notices that they need to post. When SAM data, so our entity registrations, moves from the SAM site under the Beta SAM site, which I believe GSA intends to do sometime in 2020, those role features that we currently have in SAM by giving permissions and giving access should migrate as well. But to be honest, I don't know if those role assignments, role permissions are going to stick with the entity registration, or if those will expand to include everything within the Beta SAM realm. So on that, we have to wait and see. Currently, right now, within the contract opportunities, it really doesn't matter if you click roles or domains. It just gives it here associated with your entity, but it's really not going to have any impact for us as non-federal users. Questions on that? Just click checking my attendee list. Okay. So let's keep moving forward. So you can see here I've gone to roles to following, and this is where when you sign in, click on your profile, where it has the word from the workspace or on the account, click over to following, and you can see these are all of the opportunities that we had watched under the FBO system. Now we are following. I guess we're thinking of contract opportunities is in that social media world now, so we're going to follow these opportunities, and so we can be notified if anything changes. One of the things that I want to point out that is a huge change is, for some reason, GSA, the IT database folks, have decided that they are giving us the record ID, which is insanely long, versus giving us the opportunity title. So I only have just one that I grabbed to show what it looks like if you have a list. But if you do have 10, 15 that you're watching, there is no easy way to see that title, to see which opportunity it is. One workshop that I was watching, one webinar, they said they downloaded it, their followed opportunities into an Excel spreadsheet so that they could link the record ID to a title. So then they were just referring back so they know which record ID to check on to look at and update. So when you're following the opportunity, there's 2 points, 2 purposes. One, maybe we're going through, we're doing a search, we see something that interests us, but we don't necessarily have time to do a deep dive into that particular solicitation or notice. And so we click follow, knowing that it'll be tagged back to our accounts. We can come back and look at it later. The second also is for notification purposes. So if you look over here, let me change back to my little spotlights. We have the record ID, which isn't really helpful for us because if we have a whole list, it's just more to figure out. It gives us our description. It's an opportunity. OPP means opportunity. Here's the last modified. And this email frequency, and if you look, it ties back over here where I have frequency circled, immediate, daily, weekly, none. So that if there is any change, amendments posted, an award notice posted, any communication from the contracting side added to that, and it's creating a new article, you can say, when do you want the email notification? You can, if you're just following for data purposes and you don't really care, you can always check none so that you are not getting individual emails. Now, when I am going to talk about developing saved searches, one of the features that is not currently available from FedBizOpps to Contract Opportunity was building that solicitation search and then setting a frequency of when that search was run, where the email results or where the results of said search were then emailed to us, the individual user. Currently, that function as an automatic process is not in play in Contract Opportunities. I have seen many articles where that has been the goal of Contract Opportunities, to maintain and have that functionality. It is on a development list for the team behind BetaSAM to have that as a function. Currently is not available. So when we talk a bit about saved searches, you're kind of having to go in and trigger those daily. But for right now, any email or discussion about receiving emails from Contract Opportunities is going to all be related specifically to those individual opportunities that we have decided we are following. Questions on that? And I will get into a lot more on creating and saving searches here in just a moment. Okay, let me move on then. So here, this is just an email I received this morning from this particular random opportunity I grabbed. So I had something here, and I just wanted to let you know this is what it looks like. Here's the little email. Again, it has this record ID, and you can see it is pretty long. The description, the time, the time. So we have the date and time, and change description. So, and here we actually have the solicitation number and title. Unfortunately, we don't have the solicitation number and title here on our following screen, but when you do get the email, at least it's telling you what it's for. And then you click on the link here, it will then pop you back. I just want to show you that it is working. It will actually pop you back to that individual opportunity. So I clicked the link in my email, and I actually did land directly to the solicitation. I didn't need to sign in. So that was really, really handy. All right. So again, just what it looks like. I haven't played with the thank you, thanks for update, that return communication. It's there if you'd like, and then of course you can manage the items. Click here. I think that's going to take you back where you can sign in and then decide if you'd want those notices or not. I have not played with that feature. Okay, so after we sign in to BetaSAM, we dump into the workspace. But if we click over here to BetaSAM, the little icon, number 8 icon, this returns us to the desktop. So here I want to explain a few of the features so you have an idea of what you're looking at. So you see across the top here, and I have the numbers associated. So if you click here, this is the menu button. And when you click here, this section then expands underneath. Of course, I don't really have it underneath for purposes of screenshots. And this is where you can do home, the data bank, data services, etc. The second item here is our search feature, which kind of pops up here. So if we were in and playing with any of these other features, if we come back to the top, click the search icon, then this bar is going to open up for us. Number 3 is for pending requests. So this is any communication between our individual account and GSA. You're going to have your notifications here, system notifications. There'll be a little red number. So mine for quite a while sat and said contract opportunities is here. And of course, 5 then goes back to this is our profile access. So number 6 has a drop-down box so you can decide what am I looking for. And I have all of the drop-down over here. So we can simply just do all award data. And I'm curious to see that they have this terminology, all award data, if that is set into place. So when they move the Federal Procurement Data System next generation and move that data all under the Beta SAM world, if that is going to be inclusive in the all award data. So right now it's kind of a, maybe it just means everything in there, or is that for a future? Don't know, we'll wait and see. But you can also then come down here where you're looking at specifically assistance listing, contract opportunities, contract data, entity information, federal hierarchy, and of course, wage determination. So if you had a wage determination you just needed to pull up, you could click your drop down, select wage determination, enter that determination number, and it's going to take you right to that screen. So a good start search point. Of course, 7 is just the fillable. And as I mentioned here, at any point, if you're in any of these, if you click on the icon, it's going to take you back to the desktop, back to this home space. All right, so when I went from this previous and I changed here my drop-down menu, I numbered 6, all award, and I just did contract data and clicked search, this is what I got. Now this is just the top screen, but I wanted to show you that there is more information here, and then underneath was all 120,000 articles, opportunities, data points that have been uploaded into contract opportunities. But this is just the top of the screen. So there is some information here that you can actually filter right from the home page under the contract opportunity arena in Beta SAM. So we have the vendor collaboration and of course the small business events. I did play with that a little bit. I would need to do more digging to give you a more, this is exactly what this is. I wasn't really finding anything under the small business events. It could be that this is a new enough feature that it hasn't necessarily really taken off with the ASBDU offices where they can use this as a marketing point to find out. Kind of think of it as when you're looking at real estate and you want to find the open houses, really that's kind of that government contracting open house, those small business events. All right, moving forward, just some real quick terminology changes. Some of these are pretty obvious, FedBizOpps to SAM.gov, Beta SAM. Watch list, we had our watch list, now it's follow. Search agent is now saved search. Archived is now inactive. This one is important when we do our search. And I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk about this new federal hierarchy. So when we were in FedBizOpps, on the home page, we could actually click, there was a tab we could click, and it would have a list of all the federal hierarchy. So in our search window, I just wanted to explain this, and we will play with it a little more. So we have our main agency, or main department. So here we have like General Services Administration, and we have the sub-tier. So if you are really trying to do market research and target a specific, so say we're looking at Department of Defense, DLA, we could drill down to specific, maybe one of the Philadelphia logistics centers. So they do have that in here now as a search. Prior to this, FedBizOpps didn't have this multi-tiered looking at government agency. Why I want to bring it up is they used full words when talking about the department and the agency, but when you get into the sub-tier, they start abbreviating. So a little bit of fun, maybe we can be more consistent in their naming, but I did want to let you know that that is there. It'll make more sense when we start getting into our search features. All right, so you had a brief introduction. Here is the world of contract opportunities. a few explanations about what are the different features and the different buttons and the different things you can look for. And I really want to now focus on the searching contract opportunities. But before we get into that, I have to have my little soapbox moment. So if any of you have taken any of my webinars before where we're talking about market research, I can't stress enough, so we'll many times push the importance of knowing what you are looking for. When we are in that contract opportunity, and I spent days playing in it, and it's really easy to have a very muddled search very quickly. But when I started to sit down and develop my search criteria of what I was looking for and plugging my search criteria in, then I found it much easier, much quicker to find the activities that I was looking for. So I guess just any other internet truth, getting on a Google search and following the rabbit trail, it's really easy to have that same feeling in contract opportunities, and it can be very quickly frustrating of trying to find information. So just here for your information, have your keywords, know the agency names and hierarchy, and I do have a website, really great. It breaks down each department of, and then all of the subgroups. NAICS codes, Census Bureau, of course, is the one responsible. With PSC codes, there's two options. The federal option is an Excel document that you can then search. I do like this Outreach Systems. They are a subscription customer relationship management software that PTAC uses for our client, but they have a fabulous, very user-friendly lookup for PSC code lookup, and I have that here for finding those PSC codes. One of the weird changes in the opportunity is place of performance. Currently, you have to put in zip codes versus state names or city names. Hopefully, they'll expand that and give us more information, but for me, just trying to find activities for all of the military bases, I was up to over 12 different zip codes just to cover all of the different bases. It's like Eielson had 3. So I have this site here. It's the U.S. Postal Service, so you can just type in this city and then find those zip codes. And of course, if you haven't used it, FPDS is our friend. It's still the legacy system. It's a great system. It's a good way to go in and kind of filter to grab those PSC codes, those NAICS codes, those different department, the DODAX, all of those different features to really help us build good search criteria so that when we go into contract opportunity, we are actually finding valuable data. Okay, thank you. You all survived my soapbox moment, so let me move forward. I'm just going to do a quick check, see if we have any questions. All right, thanks for hanging in there. Let's move on. Okay, filtering results. This is just a screenshot I pulled right off a GSA document. I just wanted to let you know you can use filters by status, date range, etc., to go ahead and filter those search. This is just for future information. But here we are in our contract opportunities homepage. So if you remember a few screens ago, I just did contract opportunities and then search. Here are some of my results. And I just want to talk about the features here. You obviously will not see any of the pretty colored boxes. I did this just so I could talk about the different features and using the different bits once you have your base search. So up here in this gold box, you can see where there's a blue bar right here in front of Save Searches. So you can actually toggle between your, in front of search results, you can toggle between your search results and your saved searches. I will tell you that if you've done search results and you see things that you're really interested in and you think, oh, wait, do I already have that on my save search list? If you click over to Save Search, it does kind of wipe your search results. So not necessarily, don't think you can toggle back and forth and have those screens saved. Once you click Save Searches, it goes to a different screen. Your search results are lost. Now, change filters. At first I thought this was, oh, handy dandy, I can change the filters in here on the side. And when you look at the site, all of these things are kind of a long list down the left hand of the screen. And then when you scroll through your search results, this is a scrolling section. Your search results hold static. Just for purpose of you all being able to see everything, I have it just broken into segments. But when you click on Change Filters, this is what you get. You can actually determine on your account by turning this little section on, Show Inactive Filter Value Indicated, so you can decide what things that you want to pull up. So currently these are inactive search. Haven't played with this much. I just wanted to let you know that was out there. All right, so change. Here in my green box, the status, active only. Now, this is where we get into that archived versus current. Where it's checked and active only, this is going to mean everything up to our bid due date, which I say that, and then I look at this notice ID over here, and it's 2016 data. This is where contract opportunities gets confusing. This is automatically, the active only is automatically on when you get into the contract opportunity site. But if you are looking for archive data, you can then uncheck that, and then you're going to get inactive, which means it is prior to the bid due date. So whatever the bid due date or the opportunity due date, as I think they changed the title, that is where that active or inactive is determined. We have our keywords here in the purple box, and this is a little different from FedBizOpps. So I typed in Alaska, you hit the Enter key, it immediately changes your search, and then I can come in here and I can add additional keywords. Now, this particular feature for the keywords is an AND function. It's not further filtering. In FPDS, I would start with my single Alaska, and when I'm adding keywords, I am filtering down to smaller and smaller results. Here, when we add these, we are inclusive. So I want words for Alaska and construction and JBear. So if I then click on the X and remove any of those, then I'm going back. But these are not further filtering, it's enlarging that bid pool or the results pool. Okay. A couple comments there, just double checking. So let me get back. So again, keywords are inclusive. So you can kind of add and remove those as you go, and they are not an additional filter, they are expand your overall search. So here, this is the button to save said search, and then we'll see what happens. I have a screenshot of what happens. And then this here in the lilac button is where you would download, and I'll show you what that screen looks like here. And this sort by relevance. What I didn't do is grab a screenshot of that drop-down menu. I found the easiest thing is to change that to a drop-down by date. And I believe it's down to date published, and that brought the more current documents up front. So I think this is the relevance because this particular activity, you can see it had JBear, it had Alaska, and it had Construct. So it was the closest for search criteria of the three, thus more relevant. But again, you can see we really don't care at this point for 2016 information unless we're trying to look at possible existing contracts that might be about to expire. So if you do change it, sort by date, then you'll get the current solicitation activity. All right, so we already looked at this screen. This is broken into bits, but again, it's the rest of that. From this here, we have these inactive date, and again, it just scrolls down the left side. But here are your date choices. The inactive date, again, is really handy if you're just trying to find archive data. We have the published date and the updated date. So you can put a date range to not have the entire history of whatever data is in the contract opportunities system, but we can, if we're trying to narrow, we hear something was published last month, and that published would be the original posting of the date, and then updated would be any new changes, amendments, additional information posted. If you use this here in this green box, the updated date, and put in a date range, that automatically will include the published date. So a great example, when I was looking for searches, I went in here as an updated date, and I went back and said November 1st, 2018, and I put a future date, so November 1st, 2022, and to help kind of filter all the old activity. Again, putting date search in this updated date field will include published data. If you only put date range in published data, it's only looking at, again, if I pop up here, you can see right here where it says last published date, last updated date. By chance, this is the same, but you might actually filter information out. And of course, here we have response due date offers. This is a great filter. If you're looking at anything that's going to be closing, we could actually put in today's date through January 4th just to see if there's anything about to go bid opportunities closed. Okay, next tile over here, we have our federal organizations, and you already saw a bit of this when I wanted to let you know that federal hierarchy change feature had changed. What you see is under the search, you can see this is a toggle, this is search, you get to select your overarching whatever agency that you want, say perhaps Department of Defense. If you want to say just Department of Air Force or Army or Navy, you have to build in that tier. The first thing you would do is in your search, actually you would click on Advance, you would put in your, I'm saying that backwards, I apologize. So from the search here, you would actually type in Department of Defense, and if you kind of do it slowly, just like you did in FedBizOpps, it'll give you a list. So if you do Department of and then D, it'll pull it down so you can select it, because you do have to have a character-to-character match, and then click Advance, and then the sub-tier will pop up, and this is where you can say Department of Army. And this is where, even though it says Department full here, any of the sub-tiers, for some reason they shortened it and just put DEPT, so DEPT, DEPT of Army or of Navy. So again, if you just kind of partially type and then let it populate all of the subgroups from your from whatever that department, it'll be a lot easier for you to filter to find that particular sub-agency that you're looking for. Okay. Type of notice. This is really crazy different from FedBizOpps. If you remember FedBizOpps, you could pick your type of notice, award, pre-solicitation. This has about a dozen features versus the much smaller selection pool. So again, it covers absolutely everything. Have to play with it a little bit. An interesting feature, you can actually plug in an entity name or the unique entity identifier. And here, this is about the only time you'll see DUNS and abbreviations. I've not tried searching for a particular DUNS number in the contract opportunities world. Again, I have a feeling this is set for when they move over and move the past procurement data underneath, then this is where we'll absolutely want to search by a DUNS number. Here, the service classifications in this brown box, here's our NAICS codes and the PSC codes. So being able to filter by PSC code is new because that wasn't a feature in FedBizOpps. FedBizOpps, you were really only filtering by the NAICS code. Here in this red box, we have our set-aside codes. These have drastically changed as well. They have a dozen versus our basic set-aside. And the most interesting of all is there is no selection for small business set-aside. There's a selection for total small business, but not small business. Also, there is not a selection for full and open competition. Kind of interesting. So if you are not a small business and you're looking for opportunity, there's no way to remove all of the small business opportunity. Again, another feature you'll just have to play with. They have all kinds of different types of set-asides depending on different program types that are outside of the norm that we're used to seeing from FedBizOpps. And lastly here, this gray place of performance. Again, I tried doing just entering 99 because everything state of Alaska pretty much enters as 99 something. It's not doing partial zip codes. I had to do the full zip code, but you can, like your keyword search, enter several NAICS codes if you are looking for that. Hopefully that'll expand. And of course, the clear all button. And what I want to encourage you all to take advantage of at the bottom of your search is this lovely provide feedback. Let me tell you, in the one day of me playing in the searches, I probably provided at least 20 specific feedbacks, one of which is in the place of performance where we have to enter a zip code, do you have a wildcard? So I could enter 99% and then get everything that's 99 for that start where I could cover an entire location. I also sent them another feedback of, can we please enter by search by city or by state? Personally, I didn't like the zip code. That's my opinion. All right, I do have one question. Let me quick open that box. This is being really, there we go. Good question. So Melissa asked, is it possible to select multiple set-asides? No, I'm afraid it wasn't. Because it didn't let me, when you played with the set-aside and you had that drop-down menu, it didn't let me stack them like you could do with the keyword search or place of performance. It was just simply one or the other. We have another comment under the set-aside. It says, I don't see any set-aside for ANC and or other Native organizations, except for those in the U.S. Indian Department. So any of the ANC, you should look under where it says 8A. There is no designations for distinguishing between 8A ANC or 8A. If you look at the 8A listing in the subcategories of set-aside, they had 8A competitive, 8A regional. So there were a couple, but they did not have a distinction between the ANC versus, and that was from Denise. It is a little odd. The set-aside things, there's stuff in there I had never seen before. It is a little odd. So another question from Ron. It says, my screen doesn't have change filters or status, go straight to keywords. Oh, okay, found it, wrong page. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, one other thing, if you're having difficulties in one particular browser, so if you're using Google Chrome and you have a pop-up blocker on, pay attention to that, because that can impact some of your screen. I have played in contract opportunities in Firefox because I have two different logins and I wanted to monkey with it and see if I had different results. So I was hopping between multiple browsers and it seemed to work fairly well. One other question. Again, Denise, it says, how do we do a search in Alaska, Oregon, Washington, and California? Honestly, short of saving individual searches where you're typing in that place of performance as a search filter, there really isn't currently any way of doing multiple locations short of entering all of the zip codes. Now, I could be wrong. I am by no means an expert on this. This is just based on my experience of trying to break and understand the system so that I could give you guys good advice. So currently and here we have a quote. Sorry, Denise, I'm kind of wandering off. So from just the screen that you have in front of you, that place of performance, if you're trying to do multiple states, I would recommend building individual safe search by state. So next question, quick comment. This is from Craig. Quick comment that might help folks. I was able to search by state, going to change filters. Here's the change filters, so that's the little feature at the top of the page, and checking place of performance state. So it sounds like Craig was able to figure that out. So if my understanding is from what Craig was saying, he was in this change filters and we had contract office state. So this feature is in here. So I'm following Craig. So what I wasn't capturing, I needed to turn those inactive filters on so that I could actually select contract office location. And now I can go in contract office state. Please note it says contract award, contract office, contract. This couldn't be different than place of performance. So we do have a lot of contracts where the performance is in Alaska, but the contracting office that issues the contract is outside of. So just be aware of that when you're looking at these inactive filters when you're trying to do state. Okay. Another question says we have about 20 NAICS codes for each of our companies. Can we paste all of our NAICS codes into the search box at once? I believe you can stack multiple NAICS codes. I haven't played with that as much as the keyword, but my understanding is yes. When you are stacking multiple search codes in, you are making a bigger search result versus filtering. And last question, contracts are after the RFP is awarded. Can't use define RFP. Not sure I understand that question. If you're trying to search after an award date, those statuses change from active only to inactive. So if you're looking for a solicitation that's past the bid due date, then click off the active only and come down to this inactive date and use that filter here. I think I have it a little better here. So see this inactive that I have in this blue. And again, I color-coded the boxes just so I could refer to it while we were discussing. So then if you just put an inactive date, don't forget, you can, if you have the solicitation number, if you're trying to find a award for a solicitation number, you can come in here and in your keyword box, you can put a solicitation number in the keyword box and pull up a specific activity. If you don't remember the solicitation, you just remember the agency and a date range, and you know the due date is past, then I would use the inactive feature. All right, let me just double check any more questions. All right, thank you guys, great questions. I'm sure we will have more. I'm gonna close the ones I've read. Give me a second. Okay. So let me get back to where that. One last thing before I get off this page, my brightly colored, this provide feedback. Use this feature freely, but please be respectful. This isn't a opportunity to say that you like or don't dislike or very strongly dislike or strongly dislike using not very nice friendly words, but use this for, I would really like to see this feature. Have you thought about, like my suggesting of, can we use a wildcard when trying to enter zip codes? So if you have a frustration with contract opportunities, you think there's a feature missing that you would really like to see added, please click this provide feedback. It pops up a little box. There's a character limit. So if you have multiple issues, use multiple feedback boxes, but communicate with GSA. If they are seeing a strong trend in these requests from the commercial community to have certain features, then we are more likely to see those built into the contract opportunities website than not. So for you all, this is your access point to have discussions with GSA on features that we maybe missed from contract or from FedBizOps, or if there is result-driven data is confusing or features we need, please use that provide feedback box. All right. So here's a screenshot. Again, I had gone through, you can see I had over here in gray, I had my keywords. Again, this is just the same screen, but when I clicked on the save search, this is the box. I could then name it and save it. Just wanted to give you a screenshot of what that looked like. Here's some information from GSA, and you can click on this link. You guys will have the slides. Again, they're uploaded in the handout section, the PDF documents. You'll have all these links. You can click here. There was several pages on how to save and download search data. So it was a great article. I just grabbed one small component on the Save Search, but again, I have the link for you on that site. Download search, again, that was that same button you can see here in the bright blue, and you can either download it as a comma separated value, so you could dump it into an Excel-like document, or as a PDF, and then you can name your search. One of the things that I learned is if you have a saved search and you run said save search and then you download the document, some of your toggles for that saved search change, and in essence, it erases saved search. So what I recommend is play with this just a little bit and see how it impacts that saved search. Hopefully that's an error that GSA can resolve. But when you play with it a little bit, you can see what I'm talking about. But just be aware of that once you download it, that saved search kind of goes away, and you might want to have a criteria that you use to develop that saved search. All right, moving on. Interested vendors list. So quick talk about this. Two things that I really want you all to know. The interested vendors list is there. However, the contracting officer must toggle on the invoice the interested vendors list feature for each solicitation notice. It is not an automatic feature. It's not like when we do our search where that active only is an automatic toggle. So this is something the contracting officer, one, has to allow an interested vendors list to be created for a particular activity. And then two, the second step, the contracting officer must make each list viewable to the public. So if there is where you add to the interested vendors list, but then you can't see who's on it, it means the contracting officer created the list. They can see it from the government side. The government accounts can see who is on that interested vendors list, but they have not gone through, whether by choice or by omission, done the second part, which is to make that viewable. So I don't really have screenshots on what that looks like from the viewable. It is on one of the handouts that I've uploaded, but again, just get to play. It does, from a screenshot that I have seen, it does look very similar to the same type of data that you had from looking at an interested vendors list in FedBizOpps. So it does have the vendor, the DUNS number, and the information from that we had before from FedBizOpps, so that SAM data is available. Okay, so this is where I'd actually like to go to this site and play in the search features and spend some time here. Just real quick, I just want to let you know that we have this information. I do have just a couple slides after this. These are some really helpful sites, this integrated award environment. You can sign up to receive notices. They do a lot of training. So all that information on where I found the different articles, search filters, save searches, the information's here, great website. Also, there's the GSA Interact where you can create, add yourself to email where they'll let you know if any upcoming training done by GSA, not necessarily just Beta SAM, but anything to do with GSA. And also, again, the Learning Center on data sets. And I'm not going to talk much about data sets. I really just want to play. And then we'll come back and talk about other options. So let me get out of this a moment. So again, just log in. If you've changed the, well, sometimes if it sits there too long, it does that. So let's jump out of that. So here's the Beta SAM. Oh, I bet it's been too long. It's already logged me out. All right, so again, we had the drop down where I could do all award, assistance list, contract opportunities, and I can put in a single keyword now to start it. And here's the search results. All right, so as you can see, I have dates all over the place because it's going to pull it by relevance. I want to blow this up a little so you guys can see this more clearly. So what we're going to do is we're really going to start enhancing our search. Now, The first thing I like to do is just last updated date. I didn't have a screen, so you can do relevance title updated, just because now anything with the word Alaska in it, I'm at least getting current activity. So I can come in here and I can add additional words. And I'm going to just play with this a little bit, such as construction. So you see after I hit enter, it's adding and it's automatically starting to filter. So I can do all kinds of crazy things if I'm looking for, so you can sit here and really build a huge, and active only, I can come in here, and if I'm looking for anything within a published date period, I can come back to, if I just look in 2018, let me just bring that to 2019. So again, let's do that to 11/1. So we can further filter, clear, updated. Actually, remember, this is where I said don't do that. I'm not looking just for those published. I want to know all activity during this date range. Okay. Again, if I'm looking for a specific due date, offer. Now, this is where with the federal organizations here that we have. So I'm just going to use Department of Defense for this example. So if I start typing and let it catch up to me, we can see the entire list. So if I'm looking at Department of Defense, and then I'm looking specifically, I'm going to click Add, my advance. Of course, it dumped it on me. Department of Defense. And now I have my sub. So now if I want Air Force, there we go. See how it has the DEPT? Oops. There we go. Okay, now by hitting Add, see how that's, now this is where if you want Department of Defense, and let's say I want to, just because I'm looking for JBEAR, I can then come in here to Advanced, and I can add, back to my Defense, add Department of Defense, and subtier, this is where I can add Department of Army. There we go. So now I'm adding multiple subtiers. So I have Department of Defense, both Army, Air Force, and of course I have the keyword Alaska, but that's only really valuable if the word Alaska is actually in. Type of notice, again, special notice, sources sought, pre-solicitation, intent to bundle requirements, combined synopsis solicitation, justifications, sale surplus. So actually, when I said this was varied, it's really very similar to what we had before. I think the sale of surplus property is the only thing that we really didn't have, and that intent to bundle requirements, those are two features that we didn't have in FedBizOpps. So if I want, I can come in here. I'm just going to pick one for purpose of running this. Now, again, this is the set aside. So here we have the total small business, partial small business, 8A, sole source, 8A sole source. And if you are looking for 8A sole source, just by nature of 8A sole source, they don't necessarily have to be posted. What you can do is look in the archive data. Again, probably more features if you're looking to see who is getting 8A awards. If I was looking historically, at this point, I think I would go to FPDS. We have HubZone. So let's say we decide we're looking for HubZone set-asides. You can, this is stackable. Somebody had asked me if I can do multiple set-asides. So let's play with this. Our veteran. So yes, this is stackable. Okay. And of course, place of performance. This is where I had a list where I can enter the zip codes. And each one of these, as I have entered them, it has been over here in filtering. So every time I've added any of my keyword terminology or added this, each time that screen changed on you, you could see that this again was changing. So here I can toggle by least relevant to most relevant, so you can filter. Again, just preference of mine, I want to see the most current opportunity. And we can start to see what we have, Department of. So say if we were looking at a particular opportunity now, and I am running out of time. So I want to talk about this a little bit for the opportunity itself. Your information is pretty consistent to what we were seeing for the synopsis. That wasn't good. Thank goodness the back button works. Okay, so this is very similar to what we were looking at for the synopsis from FedBizOps. So here is your toggle. You could either scroll down, and again, you can see this is kind of a stationary, or if you want from the landing page, I can hop here right to my classification information. So you can see this is a hub zone. Here's my product service code, the PSC, so it said base 95. Here's my NAICS code. And of course, this doesn't have a particular place of performance necessarily plugged in. We have our attachments, our documentation, and history. Point of contact information. I can hop back up here. So we have our title. The green circle here means it is an active. Here's our notice ID. So if we were looking for the solicitation, what is interesting is I don't necessarily see the ID number. Remember when I said you had on our save searches this record ID number? I don't see the record ID number in here, so it's a little more challenging to try to connect those outside of, unless I add myself and follow this opportunity. So see if I do want to follow, I can accept. I wasn't logged in. It's going to pop up here. It's going to sign me in. I've already saved my little number, so it's going to, I checked the little box to remember. There we go. It took a little bit, but you can see now it actually has, I'm following this activity, and it kept my information. It didn't drop me where I had to go find this again. I really do like that feature. So now if I want to go ahead and follow that, it's actually going to pull up under my profile, and I can follow this particular activity. Download all of the documentation. So we do have our description. You can download all from here as a zip file, or we can simply open the individual documents and then decide if we're going to download them or not. Advanced features. Oh, this will be fun. So I'm not going to go into that particular. Questions so far? Denise, I am going to unmute you. You have the mic, so if you unmute from your end, if you want to ask a question, go ahead. And this is Miss Denise Yancey. Oh, you're self-muted. All right. This is okay. Well, Denise, if you want, hit the raise hand button again. And I can unmute you so you can ask. I do have one other question from Ginger. Let me open that up. Sometimes GoToMeeting, it just gives me grief when I want to open my question box. Give me a second, Denise. I'll come back to you. Ginger, I'm going to unmute you since I can't get that question box. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Oh, yeah. You unmuted me?
You are unmuted. Go ahead. We can all hear you.
I am. Oh, dear. Okay. Basically, when I clicked on the IVL to be added to an opportunity, it added my boss's name and email, not mine, even though my profile is correct in the beta.sam. So it must be linking it to the name on the sam.gov for that DUNS number. Oh, okay. That's a pain.
Yes. Yes. I'm nodding vigorously. It's really funny. You should see how many times I nod and point at the screen, even though you guys can't see that part, the downside of webinars, you saw the body language. But yes, my assumption is on the IVL, when you are entering it, what it's doing is it's grabbing whoever is that entity administrator with the account. Are you the entity administrator for your SAM profile?
Yes.
It should have pulled you. That is really interesting. When you log into your SAM account and you look at your account, see if it's your name. What I would recommend is click this lovely provide feedback and request. When adding to the interested vendors list, please pull from the account, so it would be your name and email as opposed from the SAM information. Because yeah, if you have a larger company and multiple people that's specific, absolutely, please guys, use these feedback features heavily. Just be polite and be helpful so we can actually see those incorporated. Yeah, I don't know why it would pull. My assumption is if it's not putting your name, then it's pulling it somewhere from the point of contact.
Yeah, he's the government business point of contact on that DUNS number, whereas I'm the electronic business and past performance.
So maybe it's pulling from the point of contact page.
So I'm going to try and change that and see if it fixes it. And then I'll send the feedback.
Well, yeah, email me and let me know, because we're in the joy of a new system that is evolving. So if any of you guys come up with great tips like that, please let me know. I'll be glad to send them out. We'll start adding them to our monthly newsletter, contract opportunity tips. So please feel free to share that with me. That's the one downside of my position is I have limited access and use. So this is where I'm really, any feedback from you all, the businesses, is incredibly helpful. Thanks, Ginger. So yeah, that's a great assumption that it's pulled from that government POC from your SAM page and decided that's where it's filtering. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? If you guys hit the raise hand feature, I can unmute you. Conversation is good as we all figure this out together. Okay. So let me go back to the contract opportunity list. And I will be honest, I didn't find a great way to do that other than by back arrow. So I'm going to go back here again, award data. Let me show you from my profile. Let me get into my profile. So I clicked here, profile, and following. So the different articles that I was, and my roles, it has all of my saved searches. Should also be on this following page. Let me go back to this opportunity. Okay. So if I am in this and I'm like, I don't even want to look at this anymore, I can pull up my search and go back and put in something specific. I can even just click the icon and get back to the desktop, or again, archive. Here a little bit, the data bank. Let me just talk about this. This is for report information. I was playing with this a little bit and I found it more confusing than helpful because of the way the information was pulling the data. It was really old, and I wasn't able to really select. So you can see the items per page, and I'm getting 10. So there are filters we can come in here and play in this. Hopefully this will become a more robust, where if we're looking for specific, instead of playing in the search and developing our search and then downloading, and maybe this is where we use those API keys and request search. But this feature is here under the contract opportunities, administrative ad hoc, the different types, report types. I played with it and I gave up. I'll be honest on that one. So again, back to the workspace from our menu, data services, learning center. I spent quite a bit of time here in the Learning Center. So again, you can come in here for keyword search. And again, it's one of those things you start so I can tell it where I want it to pull. Archived, how can I download this? Here's some of the others I can save. So the different areas, wage determinations, you can get into the Learning Center. I did find some really helpful question and answer. You can see when it's dated. So there was some great information here. Also, if you're just looking for terminology, frequently asked questions, or even videos. So I did find some good video links based on search for video. So I did want to pull that to your attention. Really, it's a new site for us to be comfortable with. I have played with these others, the assistance listing, the contract data, entity information, the federal hierarchy. So I have played in these particular, but really what I want to encourage you is build your search and get in here and play. I have just a couple minutes left. I see a few people already exiting. I wanted to pull one last thing to your attention. So with a new search and all of us at this having to learn to use these new features, even though we know what we're looking for, we just have to learn this new software process. There is a business cost consideration. We are either looking at our time or other employee time, or there are alternatives, but they do have a cost feature. So all of this really comes down to time or money, and keep in mind that your time is money. It is a cost associated. And so while we're looking at this, I wanted to talk to you real quickly about alternatives. If you are just, I don't even want to deal with contract opportunities unless I'm looking for one particular, I'm not going to use it for, I just don't want to use it yet for searching for a wealth of knowledge. So in that time versus money world, we do have data mining subscription services. So just real quick to give you an example, if we're looking in the area of free where we're like, yep, right now is a quiet time, I have the staff time and availability, I don't want to have a monthly expense, then this is where we're using that contract opportunities and FedBizOps, or I'm sorry, which was FedBizOps, and FPDS, and you can go find that information. So the federal government is very good about making this transparent. That information is available, and you can do it for free. It's just that learning curve. One thing I would like to point out as a potential option, since currently contract opportunities doesn't have that solicitation search. We used to be able to build that, and those would run in the background and then send us the results. Currently, that feature isn't active in contract opportunities, and a good workaround is PTAC's My Bid Match. And I do have just a quick screenshot of yesterday's. It's all web-based, and it is going to do that same function that you were able to build in FedBizOps, where you can have your search. The limitation is that since PTAC is paying for those subscription costs as part of our grant, is we really only want to do one search per business, versus with FedBizOps, you could build multiple searches and have those working for you. So if you're looking for having some sort of daily search criteria and that's brought to you, you're always welcome to give me a call, email me, and find out more about BidMatch. Again, this is a free service that we offer to active PTAC clients. Other areas, and they do have subscription services, but they are really great resources, is the Plans Room, and they have a whole new online profile access point website that they are launching today, I believe. They do have subscription. There's a monthly fee. And also we have the AGC Online Plans Associated General Contractor. They also have subscription services. Both of these are a subscription search. Now, when you talk about data mining versus solicitation searches, these are forward activities. They don't pull any past data, whereas data mining companies, and these are just a few, there's quite a few out there. These were just the ones I could think of yesterday. This not only has search capability, but then it's going into that past activity and pulling that data and giving you a report to go along with those future opportunity, such as incumbent, previous contracting, old solicitation data, money spent. So again, most of these are modular based. You can pay for as little as or as much as you want, but it's giving you are hiring someone else to go find that information for you, and you get that consultant that is working with you as part of those subscription costs. So there's a lot of different options if you are having difficulties with contract opportunities and you're looking for a different route to go. So I see a bunch of raised hands. Let me quick switch my screen. Okay, and again, it's just contact information for you, but let me go through, and I'm just going to go right top to the bottom alphabetically. Andrew, you've got the mic. Do you have a question for me, Andrew Bill?
I was just curious when we get, where do we get the recording of the webinar?
So Holly, our data person, will have this tomorrow, and hopefully we can get this posted on Friday. If not, we will have this recording up after the new year. The PTAC office is going to be closed from December 23rd through January 1st. There'll be some of us back in the office on the 2nd, January 2nd. So we should have it up by the 4th. So if not this Friday, then I'm afraid you'll have to wait until the 4th. But I do want to get the recording up. And in the meanwhile, like I said, I do have the PowerPoint that you can download. And if you guys have any questions and want to set up an appointment with any of us in PTAC and work with us a little bit to better understand, especially for building search criteria or to sign up for BidMatch, by all means, let us know. Any other questions, Andrew?
Nope, that does it for me.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close your mic. Ginger? Oh, signed in twice. I have two Gingers. Why is not? Oh, okay. I have one Ginger unmuted. Ginger Kelly, I have you in here twice. All right, let me try the other. You're self-muted. All right, Ginger, I'm going to leave you unmuted. Let me see if I can get this question box to open up for me. Carol, I see that you have a question. I'm going to unmute you. Do you want to ask your question out loud? Go ahead.
Yeah, how are you? Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm just wondering, when I go into the search, when you just get into the search program, I had a hard time because it says all awards, and when you press on and you look for awards, it pulls up too many. I'm just looking for open contracts active. Are those the ones that in the search you press contract opportunities? Is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah, so let me talk real quick because that is a really great question. Hang in there, I'm not going to mute you. Let me pop over to, so when we are back at the search feature, let me get that back up. And if we just leave it at all award data, keep in mind that includes assistance listings, and assistance could be loans or grants. So you're getting all of those, so for example, the state of Alaska Department of Transportation receives grant monies from the federal DOT. That's an assistance listing. So when you're doing the all award data, you're getting everything mixed in. So if you're just looking for potential jobs, pre-filter by starting in the contract opportunities. Does that make more sense?
Yes. That answers my question.
Does that answer? All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and mute you then and move on. Ron, you're self-muted on your side if you want to unmute. Ron Kroll. I got my question box to pop up. Let me read those. All right. Thank you, Ron. I got a thank you from Ron. Ginger, it says, didn't have a question. Colleague Lynn decided to join, but used your link. No problem. So that's why you're on there twice. And Andrew asked the recording. Carol. All right. It looks like I have gone through all of the questions. I am at my 3 o'clock marker. If anybody has any last minute, click through the raised hand and I can unmute you. Again, we will do our best to get the recording up. I do record from the GoToWebinar, so the time that I spent actually in BetaSAM is a little blurry, but we'll get that up as soon as possible. You are more than welcome to reach out to any one of us at PTAC. Ask to set up an appointment. We can do meetings over the phone, so don't feel you have to be in the office to take advantage of that. Here's all of our contact information. And by all means, work with PTAC. Let us help you so that you become really confident. Or if you have any questions on data mining, PTAC does have subscriptions to EasyGovOps and GovSpend. So we do use that. We can help that. Just let me know. And again, we do have the BidMatch solicitation search software that's available if anybody's looking. The nice thing about BidMatch, I'll do one last quick commercial for our product, is it does include state and local as well as federal. So anything from the contract opportunity, it's just only going to be the federal, but the BidMatch does capture state of Alaska, city of, the university, since that's a state entity, etc. So for more information, contact. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I have run out of time. Your time is valuable, especially going into that Christmas holiday. You have our contact information, so feel free to follow up with voice messages, phone calls. You can even reply to the GoToMeeting if you want to capture my email. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close the webinar.